Say these words when you lie down and when you rise up, when you go out and when you return. Another world is possible. One of the things I find really exciting about the Rimonim Project is that I get to work deeply with members of the partner organizations, that we get to have profound conversations about their own spiritual needs and the spiritual needs of the work that they're doing in the community. This spring I got to work with Jewish Voice for Peace New Orleans chapter, creating new writing for their Passover Seder. Rather than just create drop-in pieces, dedications for the 4 cups, the traditional ways that people modify the Haggadah, I asked everyone to pause and step back and look at a bigger question. What purpose did they want the Seder to serve for themselves as radical Jews seeking spiritual grounding in their own traditions? And what purpose did they want the Seder to serve in terms of the work that they were doing in the community, their organizing work? And so I asked the question, what is the arc of this story for your work, for what you need? What does Egypt mean? What does the Red Sea mean? What does the desert mean? And what is the Promised Land? What we decided was to create an arc that was about people seeking to be safe. Because one of the things that they wanted to explore was the question of seeking safety through Zionism and through the creation of a nation state versus seeking safety through solidarity among all people. So I created a series of pieces, a piece that briefly talked about the conditions of oppression in Egypt as a symbol for conditions of oppression everywhere. And then I talked about the Red Sea as that moment of enough is enough, when people reach a tipping point and go from resignation and resentment into action. I created 4 narratives to take the place of the 4 questions in the traditional Haggadah, voices of 4 ancestors, each of whom had chosen a different strategy to deal with the question of danger. The ancestor who runs, the ancestor who hides, the ancestor who builds local possibility, and the ancestor who fights. And I created monologues for each of those ancestors that show both the strengths and weaknesses of those strategies. And then the portion of the story in which the Jews are wandering in the desert became that struggle to fight for something beyond our own small group's immediate needs. The push from a narrow sense of identification, a narrow sense of we, into a broader sense of solidarity and cooperation, a bigger picture of what's possible. And finally, rather than having the story carry us into the Promised Land, we acknowledge the fact that, in fact, we haven't arrived there yet, that we're still working to build a solidarity that is deep enough and strong enough and broad enough to carry us all the way. So this was the result of really having much more in-depth conversation about purpose, about big picture and big vision.